And this is segment 3. Okay, so we're going to go back to Colin Butler's question to reiterate. This is, what is your criteria for identifying someone that you can't help with your skill set? And so again, the correct answer here is complete and utter failure. When someone is coming into the purple room or iFast that we're working with, we have no idea what aspect of the system is the limiting factor. And so that's why we have to use the system that we do use, where we attempt to do something that is much more systemic. So the hope there is that by doing something broad scope, something global, something systemic, that we do allow the element of the system that is the limiting factor to recapture adaptability, and then this influences a cascade of effects throughout the entire system and allows us to accomplish the goal that we want. And so so we attempt many of those things, and if that doesn't produce a change, then we do something on a smaller scale, something a little bit more isolative. So maybe I provide a sensory input. So in some cases that would be a manual therapy, or another way that we influence something in the gym, or so we regress an exercise to a much simpler form that allows somebody to be a little bit more effective with whatever they're attempting to do. And so if we continue to reduce our focus, and that does not create the influence that we want, then there might be another limiting factor. So maybe this is something that's psychological. Maybe this is the influence of another sensory input that I cannot influence. And so this is where you need to integrate. So maybe you integrate with something from a nutritional aspect. So we have nutritionists on site at iFast, because there's some people that have those things. And if you start to read some of the research that's coming out, it's like this gut influence is a big deal. Nutrition is a big deal, especially in regards to some of the behaviors that we see psychologically, because a lot of these things are gut influenced. Sometimes there's other sensory inputs that have adapted. That doesn't mean that we need to rush people off to other levels of practitioners in regards to something that might be, again, sensory, like vision or dental or any other aspect of the system. But ultimately you have to experiment first, and that's what's going to determine whether you are being effective or not. And if I can't be, I tend to be very, very honest. I let people know that if we're going to fail, we're going to fail very, very quickly. And so again, that's just an element, a normal element of treatment, a normal element of training, where we can't always help everyone. Thankfully, as the model has expanded and we have captured more influences of that, we tend to fail less, but there are still those failures. But the bottom line is, just be honest with people and say, you know what, I'm not good enough to help you. This is something that is outside of my scope, but that's a great opportunity for you to refer your client or your patient to someone else that actually can be helpful. And then ultimately, through your honesty and then through that relationship, not only do you help someone, but chances are you might build your business as a secondary benefit. All right, Coach Ledesma. Here's an interesting question. Why do you live in Indiana? Because I grew up here, and I have lived other places. There's a great scene in Field of Dreams where the dad goes, hey, is this heaven? And then Kevin Costner says, well, no, this is Iowa, and I don't want to live in Iowa. So Indiana is actually great from a cost of living standpoint and all that kind of stuff, but the reality is I moved here, you get comfortable with the place, and so you tend to stay here. Doesn't mean I'm going to live here forever. Eventually we might find some retirement someplace warm. My wife is from Atlanta, so maybe we go there. I don't know. But I live in Indiana because it's easy, and I'm happy here. And so why else would you live anywhere else if you're happy? It doesn't really matter. And by the way, it doesn't matter where you live, because home's where you hang your hat, as they say. So you don't have to live here either. But hey, if you want to come to Indiana, I'll show you around. All right. Last question. It's TJ Tig Rourke, maybe? It's TJG ROARKE. You have to help me out, brother, with that name. I'm not really sure what you're trying to do there with your Instagram handle, but I appreciate the question. Hey, Bill, what are your thoughts on joint structure driving the function of muscles as opposed to muscles dictating how structure acts? Probably a lot wrong with this mentality, but always a student. Thanks. I don't really think so much that way anymore. That's kind of a structural reductionist viewpoint. I look at things as being very, very much the same. We're made of a lot of the same stuff. So bones are made up of the same stuff as tendons, as ligaments, as muscles, etc., etc., etc. So the divisions are not as clear as they would tend to be in your standardized medical education. And so I don't really look at one driving the other. I look at how they behave together because they do follow the same rules. And so this is something that, again, we have to grasp, which is difficult at first. Because it's made up of the same stuff, the behavior has to be the same. And so we'll see a lot of things that we thought were true proven untrue. So from a lever system, we don't really have a lever system in the human body. If you do, you tend to be visiting the orthopedic surgeon's office, because to have a lever we have to have fulcrums, and fulcrums create a lot of friction and a lot of load, and under those circumstances that would be very, very destructive if we did those things. And so again, we can't look at this from this reductionist model. Muscles pull on bones, bones change shape, muscles change shape, fluid compartments change shape. And so really what we are is shapeshifters, and we're morphological beings in that we change shape. We don't move through these prescribed planes like we've been instructed to. And again, I realize that these things are difficult for people to grasp without enough perspective, but we're going to work on that as we go through these things. But I don't look at as one driving the other. I look at this from a much more coherent model where they're all kind of doing the same thing, just to different degrees, because of the stuff that we're made up is all the same. We just have different percentages of that stuff. So bones tend to be a little bit stiffer, but muscles can be stiff too. That's how we get avulsion fractures. And so if I make those tissues a little bit stiffer at the right time, I can actually rip a piece of bone off versus tearing a muscle or rupturing a tendon. And so again, let's start to build this model of coherence, where everything is kind of the same. We just have to look at how it truly behaves, especially as we're moving through space-time. Oh, there's another topic that we'll eventually cover, I would imagine. I'm not really much of a scientist, but it's really fascinating to think this way. Anyway, so hopefully this is a useful Q&A, or at least mildly entertaining. We'll get better at this as we go, but this is the Q&A for Sunday, September 15th. Have a great morning to you all, and I'm going to go finish my coffee, and I'm going to do some reading today. Remember, we got free giveaways, so go to billhartmanpt.com, follow the links there so you can get Brett Bartholomew's book for free. You can get a free complete coaching certification from Mike Robertson, and then you get a free 1-hour coaching call with me. Again, fill out the forms, and hopefully we'll see you later. I'm on Instagram, Bill Hartman PT, as always. And then if you're a 16%er, just follow me every day, and we'll be in touch.